everyone, welcome back to Software Engineering 2, your second day of real coding, where we are going to learn your second shape, and then you guys are going to be practicing drawing some shapes on the canvas before we take a little break from coding tomorrow with a podcast. So I am currently in the P5 editor, and I got here through the asynchronous work. There's a link for you to click, and that link asks you to duplicate the file once you get here. So once you're on a page that looks like mine, you're going to go to File, and you are going to scroll down to Duplicate. If you do not see Duplicate, it almost definitely means that you are not logged in. So check the upper right corner, see how mine says Hello C. Morgan Twills. If yours just says Sign Up or Log In, please click Log In, then go back to the asynchronous work, click that link again, and then you should have the option to duplicate. So because I do have that option, I'm going to go to File, I'm going to click Duplicate, and what this does now is make a copy of this to save to your account. So just like with yesterday, we are going to rename this file appropriately, and that is so we can find it later. What you're going to learn about computer science class is the notes you have for this class are often the things you are making in your code. So if you don't remember how to do something, like if today you don't remember how to draw an ellipse, you're going to go back to yesterday's work and you're going to use that to help you complete your assignment today. So I'm going to click next to this name and I'm going to give it a name that makes sense, a name that I will be able to find later. I am going to call this 0.11. I know this is the number we used yesterday. It should have been the number for today. And I am going to call this Introducing Rectangle. And I just definitely spelled introducing wrong, that's fine. If at any point you guys have like better ideas for project names or there's something else that makes more sense to you, feel free to rename based on your organizational system. These are just my suggestions because they are things that make sense to me. So once I have that done, it should auto-save, but just to be safe, I'm going to hit File Save. You guys, I cannot stress enough that you need to be hitting save all the time. Please make sure you are hitting save often. I know that at least once this year someone is going to lose their work because they forgot to save, and I'm not really going to be able to help you. So hit save even when you think you don't need to hit save. I also, before we get started, just want to go over opening files because that can be weird. If I did want to look back at the work I did yesterday, I would go to File, Open. It'll bring up this window of sketches that I can open, and I can click any of them open. The one thing that always trips kids up, you have to click exactly on the name of the project. If you just click somewhere in this box, it is not a link. Only the names are links. This is a little bit of a design flaw, if you ask me, but just keep in mind if you are trying to open, everything is openable. You just need to make sure you are clicking exactly on the name of your project. So I'm going to click back to the editor, and you're going to see that everything looks like yesterday. I have my setup functions running from line 1 to 3. I have my draw function running from line 5 to 11. You can see I inserted some blank space. But then I have this new line on line 7. And this new line is so useful, you guys. I can't stress this enough. You are probably going to want this line in every project that you make. And if you do want that, I would encourage you to just come back to this one and copy and paste it. So let's figure out what this line does by hitting play. When we hit play, we're going to see the same gray rectangle from yesterday. Remember, you can change the background color by adjusting these numbers here. You can change the size of the canvas by adjusting these numbers here. And then you can start playing with your mouse on this screen to see what happens. So the thing we should notice happening as we move our mouse around the screen is that these numbers in the corner keep changing. If I move my mouse just left to right as best as possible, you're going to see that the first number gets bigger as I move to the right and smaller as I move to the left. The second number is going to change as I move up and down. So it gets bigger as I move down the screen and it gets smaller as I move up the screen. These two numbers are just referring to the position, like the coordinate position of my mouse on this canvas. The first number represents an x value, and very similar to math and science, that x value goes left to right. The second number refers to the y value, and again, just like math and science, y is talking about up and down motion. So we can think about this top line like our x-axis, and this side line like our y-axis. Now the weird thing about computer science is that all visual languages are going to put the origin not in the center of the page, but in this top left corner. And that's because when computers and phones and TVs and anything with a screen turn on, they're programmed to turn on from this top corner and then spread across the rest of the screen. So this up here is actually our 0, 0, which you can see if I can get my mouse right up there. And then X gets bigger as you go to the left, Y gets bigger as you go down, and we don't really deal in negative numbers on our canvas. This is going to be the weirdest thing for you guys to get used to, but I swear once you start drawing some things, and once we get through a few projects, it's going to become second nature. You'll also notice that on my canvas, the biggest I can get in any direction while still being on the canvas is 400 and 400. Again, you can change those numbers in Create Canvas. So I'm going to start out again in the draw function. For most of our first lessons, we're just going to be living in the draw function. And remember, being in the draw function means I am between these curly braces. These curly braces tell the computer where the instructions for draw start and stop. Right now they start on line 5 and they end on line 11. So that means I'm going to place my cursor on line 9 to get started. The first thing I am going to do is draw a circle. This is going to be a flashback from yesterday. And I'm actually going to leave a comment about what it means to draw a circle. So remember, a comment is those 2 slashes. You can find that key. It's the same as your question mark button. And anything that has 2 slashes in front of it, the computer is not going to try and run like code. It is just a comment for human eyes only. So after those 2 slashes, I'm just going to make it a note that to draw a circle, I use the function ellipse. Remember, functions always have parentheses after them. And then inside that ellipse, it is expecting an X and Y coordinate value that tells me where the center of my circle is. And then it expects at least 1 diameter and maybe an optional second diameter. And that's the one that'll make it into an oval. We also need to remember that everything is separated by commas. Whatever our last number is does not have a comma after it. So I'm going to practice drawing an ellipse just right in the middle of my screen. So I'm going to put it at the X value of 200, the Y value at 200, and I will make the diameter 45. We'll make like a very small ellipse. So there's my circle. That should be review. And it's cool that I can draw circles, but if all you guys did all year was draw circles, you would hate me. So today we are going to learn one other shape, and then you're going to practice drawing a bunch of these on your screen. So the second shape I'm going to learn to draw is a rectangle. So I'm going to hit enter a few more times. Again, I am still between these curly braces. I'm just giving myself room so that it's very readable. And I'm just going to make a comment that to draw a rectangle, the computer was taught not the word rectangle, but the word rect, R-E-C-T. And it's very important that we are spelling these correctly and that we are capitalizing correctly, which means everything is lowercase. If you mess up spelling or capitalization, the computer is not smart enough to know what you intended. It is going to throw you an error until you go fix it. So a rectangle uses the word rect, and like an ellipse, it needs numbers. It needs those recipe ingredients in order for the computer to know how to draw it. It also needs an X and a Y coordinate. Those are now for the top left corner. And it needs a width and a height. So I am going to start off my rectangle on line 13, right underneath that comment. I'm going to type in R-E-C-T. I am going to put in my parentheses. And again, a reminder, you can pause this video at any time if you need to catch up. Feel free to pause, feel free to go back, feel free to rewatch. But once you have met me with R-E-C-T and parentheses, we are going to give it some values. So the first values I need are an X and a Y, and this is where I can use these numbers to my benefit. If I wanted to place a rectangle in this region here, I see that these numbers are about 73 and 77, so I'm going to put those in as my values. I'm going to put in 73, 77, then I need a width and a height. Let's give it a width of 100 and a height of 30. Just random numbers, does not matter what numbers you put in. And then I'm going to hit play and see what pops up. So now I have a rectangle on my screen, and unlike the circle where the X and Y controls the center, in my rectangle the X and Y controls this top corner, and I can actually line up my cursor almost perfectly to see that that top corner shows the 73, 77 on my canvas. So what you guys are going to be doing for the rest of this async work, you are just going to practice drawing ellipses and drawing rectangles. You're going to make sure that you draw 4 more of each inside of this draw function. So I'm going to put my cursor after line 13 and drop down a few lines. You are going to draw 4 more ellipses, and then you are going to draw 4 more rectangles. Anywhere you want on this screen, as long as I can see them, or at least part of them on your canvas. I should be able to count 5 total rectangles and 5 total circles or ellipses. Yeah, anywhere you want on the canvas. They can make a design, they cannot make a design, they can be big, they can be small. I just want you to experiment drawing these shapes and getting the hang of using this coordinate system. Once you are done, just like yesterday, you are going to go to File. You are going to hit Save so that we have this. And then once you hit Save, you will have a much longer URL than mine. See how my URL is very short right now? This means this is something that I have not actually saved yet. It is not like registering in my account, and if you sent me this URL right now, it would lead me to a blank editor page. So make sure you go to File, Save, and you should then see a very long URL. If you ever don't see a long URL, copy everything on your page to make sure you have it, and then refresh, see if that works. It looks like that wiped all of my stuff, so I'm going to go to File, Open. I'm going to try and open this. And it looks like this is here and saved. It was like there. If it hadn't showed up, I have everything copied. I could have just pasted it into a blank editor so I have it. But now I see my nice long URL that I could copy and paste into my asynchronous work. If you have questions or problems, again, please come to office hours during asynchronous time or shoot me an email. I am happy to answer any questions or clarify things, but make sure that you guys are familiar with these skills. I will see you in class. Bye, guys.